Guys, it's Chase from Chase's Workshop. This is going to be how to build a cigar box part 2. And I know I said in the last video I was be a lot farther than just having the frets done on this guy and the inlay dots in, but I spend so much time and try to think about what you guys would want to learn about how to do this that by the time I get to making a video and start editing it, it's like 30 minutes long, and I'm like, man, ain't nobody gonna be watching my videos for that long. I'm a huge procrastinator from way back on how long it's going to take me to do something and how much information I try to put in a video. So sorry about that, but like I said, in this video I'm going to get you to this point where I've got the frets installed, inlay dots. The next video is going to be shaping the neck and probably getting the side inlay dots in and hopefully getting the box completed, because all I've got now is the top on here. I want to get the back on it and then maybe get a lot of that stuff done in the next video. This is probably the longest video just because there's a lot of stuff I wanted to go over on installing these frets. So guys, I hope you enjoy this. If you learned something, let me know. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll see you at the end of the video. Okay, I wanted to go over a few things right quick about this neck that I didn't go over in the last video. Mostly is how I put this piece right here on. This piece right here is roughly 12 inches. The wood that I bought, I got from Lowe's, and it was it's 1.5 inches by 3/4 inch. I want to say it's 4 foot long. So it's a big long piece of wood. As you can tell here, I only used, which I cut this piece off, so I basically used, I have maybe 5 inches left over on the end down here after I cut all this out. But the way I kind of done this is I took a 12-inch piece, and that's what we glued right here, and then I took my fretboard, and I knew I kind of wanted it to the heel to be right around the 16th fret, which is right there. So we got 12, 15, 16, so that's the 16th fret, and that's kind of where I wanted the heel to be. And I lined that up that way with the fretboard already made. So I put the fretboard on here, and you could see how I did that. Now, as far as the scarf joint goes, this isn't something you have to do. You can just thin the headstock, kind of like I did on this one. Just instead of this is just one piece, but this is a little bit thicker wood. This was about 7/8 of an inch thick, and so when I did that, and this being a one piece and not with the fretboard, I could get away with just cutting this down and doing that. Now with this one here, you could do the same thing because you're going to have the fretboard thickness too, but you still have to thin this down to a 1/2 inch. And the reason you have to do that is because the machine heads are made to go in roughly a 1/2 inch thick piece. So if you don't want to do the scarf joint, you can just take this and kind of do what I did on that one, cut this out to a 1/2 inch and then angle it up, and then when you put your fretboard on top of it, you're going to have plenty of angle back to your tuners. So I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave some questions in the comments, and I'll be glad to go over any of this in more detail. Okay, so with that being said, what I'm going to do next, I'm going to start working on this fretboard, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount my dots kind of off-centered here. And the way I'm going to do that is I've got just a straight edge, and I made an X from corner to corner. Right here, I just go from this corner to this corner, scribe a line, and do the same thing the other way, and it creates this little X right here. And I do the same thing up here on the first fret. And then take a straight edge, connected the lines or the centers, and then I went back and did the same thing for these X's on this top. So I went back, but instead of going from side to side, I went from that center line to my edge, and then I just did that all the way up the fretboard. So my fret should, or maybe my stuff should look something like this. So it should look something like that. That's what I'm kind of going for. I didn't really want them centered because the last one I did center. I think it looked cool to do. I'm on on the end like that. I thought that would look pretty cool. Now these dots are 6 millimeters. If you measure them, they're a little bit shy of 6 millimeters, but they're a little too small for a 1/4 inch. So if you're using a 1/4 inch bit, see these are 5.9 pretty much millimeters, and then like I said, I'm using a 6 millimeter brad point bit. So these guys right here. And I'll put a link in the description where you can find these tools if you want to. I've bought drill bits for years, and these are probably my favorite. They are a little pricey, but they're really good. These dots, I just bought them on eBay. Probably it's been a long time. I've had these things forever, but you can find these everywhere too. I'll see if I can find some on Amazon as well. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go out here. I'm going to take a centering punch. I'm going to punch each of these X's just by, lining it up and punching it. And I'm going to take it out there to drill press, and I'm going to use the brad point bits, the 6 millimeter, and I'm going to drill these down roughly the thickness of these guys. And these are right at 2 millimeters. So I might go down like 1.8 millimeters down into this. That way I have something to sand off when I get done. So anyways, I'll be back in just a minute and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I got all the holes drilled now. Like I said, I just did 6 millimeters. And the way I'm going to put these guys in is I've got some thin super glue from Stu Mac. You can use any super glue. It doesn't have to be from Stu Mac. And the most important thing is to not stick your fingers together. But all I do is just put a little drop in there, kind of wet it a little bit, slide it in, and kind of tap it in too if you want to. And I like to take and just pour some of this thin around it. That's what's good about this thin super glue is that it will go into the cracks and solidify it pretty good. The only bad part about it really is that it's so thin that it absorbs into the wood a lot of times, and you don't feel like you're getting a good glue. But so I'm just going to keep doing this all the way down it. But you can see how well that glue just seeps around the joint. I think anytime you're doing stuff with making guitars or stuff like that, super glue is, and especially good super glue, is really important. I've used the stuff from Lowe's a lot too, like the Gorilla Glue. That stuff's good. They get a gel kind that I like a lot, but I like to use it for like holding templates down and stuff like that because it's like a gel. I don't know if that's how it's supposed to go or not, but that's how I'm going to use it. So there's that. Those are in. I'm going to let that sit up for a little bit, and then I will take a sandpaper, a flat piece of sandpaper, because the cigar box does not have a radius on it, so it's just a flat fretboard. And I will probably take the same tool that I used to flatten this back in the last video for this to get these flat. And then I'll go back with I'll take this up to about probably 400 grit, somewhere in there, and then I will fret it. All right, so what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna take this guy here and I'm just gonna kind of get these dots kind of a little bit lower, and then I'll go back with this, and then I'll probably just get some. I'll go up to about 400 grit to get rid of these. All right, I'm just gonna go back with this guy right here now, and I'm going to try to get this thing sanded as flat as I can. Makes pretty quick work of it. Just gotta be careful. You just want to make sure you're staying flat. It's the biggest ordeal, really. Now what I'm gonna do is I'll switch over to about 120. Got a 120 mesh right here. This is the same stuff you use for sheetrock. Now we're going to go to 220. Got 220, just a flat piece of walnut right here. There's 220. We'll do, let's see, I've got 320, 320. There's 4. Let's do 320. I'm gonna do 320 just a little bit. It's just some mesh pads I got. I really like these guys. Sun Gold abrasives. I think I got them on Amazon. If I did, I'll put a link in the description where you can get them. I really like them. All right, let's try 400 now. I'm trying to get rid of these scratches on the dots. And so right now you can tell I've got little bitty scratches, and they're kind of making their way smaller now, and I might have to go back and hit it again. All right, let's go to 600 and see if I can get rid of those. All right, so there it is, to 600. And like I said, the reason I went to 600 is because these dots, you can still see some scratches in them. I'm going to 600 kind of helped get rid of those. If you don't know, anytime you're sanding, you're always, if you start with 80, you're always wanting to go up to a little bit higher grit to get rid of the 80 scratches, and then go up a little bit higher to get rid of the 120s, and go up a little bit higher to get rid of the 320s, and then go up a little bit, get rid of the 400s, and then finish with your 600 or whatever you want to. So that's the fretboard. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of sand the sides and get them kind of flush and clean before we fret it, because once I fret it, I want to contour this back. I want to fret it and then contour the back. So I've got my, back to my fretboard here. To get it pretty close to where you want it. And then I'll go to my 120 again. Go to my 220. And I'm gonna go to 400. Do the same thing to the other side. The main thing I'm worried about on this is the side here, because a lot of this is going to be gone once I shape the neck, but I'm trying to clean up this side. So there we go. Okay, now that I've got this guy pretty much where I want it, and it looks really good, what I'm going to do is clean out these fret slots with my saw here. Just want to take my saw, put it in here, and just drag it out. So I clean those out. Fretboard looks pretty good. I've got a little square file. What I like to do is before I fret it, I like to take this file and just kind of angle the fret slot a little bit, just putting a little bit of a edge on it, and that just helps the fret wire go in better. And it's not a lot, just a little bit. And I think even when building cigar box guitars, the most important part, just like any other instrument, is probably the fretboard, because the more time you spend on it, the better it's going to play and all that stuff. So this is probably what I spend, I don't know, 80% of the time on, is this. Now I've got a gauge right here that I got from Stu Mac, and all it is, it just shows, it gives me the height right here of my fret wire, so I can tell if my fret slots are deep enough. And you do just take it there, and since the line's missing, we're good. I just keep checking that, and if it's high, or if it's sticking above it, I'll try to cut some of it. Okay, you see that one? I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's a little high on this side. So what I'll do is So I'll take my saw. It doesn't take much. I'll just kind of hit that side. That one's high too, as you can tell. So a little pull like that, and it's good. And it could just be junk in there. I mean, these things, I tried to clean them out, but you can still get trash in them. And now I know now that all of my fret slots are deep enough to hold my wire right here. What I'll do next is I'll come in here and I'm just going to measure these out and cut each one, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I got all the fret wires cut. I had two that had to cut off a curved piece that had already curved, so I got these two set aside. I'm going to try to put those two down here on the bottom. One reason why I like putting the frets in before I contour the neck is because I can do this much easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a piece, very simple. Remember I made my little cut there with my file, and that'll help guide this fret wire in. So just kind of put it on one side. I'm going to use the plastic side of my thing here, and I'm just going to tap them in. It's that simple. I will say this, be very careful with these edges because these things are really sharp. Really sharp. One thing not to do, especially like with these, how long these are, if I was to hit it out here on this edge, I'll bend it. So just make sure you're staying on the fretboard when you're hitting these guys, because like I said, if I hit it right here, it's going to bow this backside and it's not going to work. It's not going to be good. Okay, on this last one, like I said, this one was already curved a little bit. I had two that looked like absolute poo, if you can see it or not, but I guess I could polish them when I get done. But the way I always do these, the way I start them is I always kind of line it up, and having that little bit of angle in those grooves helps align it better than just a flat spot. But what I'll do is I'll take it, I'll set it on there, get that corner kind of in, tap it just a little bit and help it align itself, and then I just follow it across. And then I go in here and I look and see if I see any gaps in any of these spots, and they all look really good. So now what I'll do is I'll take a pair of cutters and I'll cut all these sides, all these ends off as much as I can. Now I won't probably use these. These don't have a flat edge on them, so if you try to cut these, what they're likely to do is what I use to cut these with. And as you can tell there, let me get one that you can see. As you can tell, it kind of leaves a sharp point, and what it does is it does that on both sides. So no matter which side you cut it on, it leaves that point. And sometimes what that can do is if you're right up against this wood and you try to pry down on it to cut this guy, you can actually pull the fret, and we don't want to do that. So anyways, be right back. Alright, so I got the frets kind of cut close to the edge here, and what I've got right here is a side file. I don't even know what they're really called. They sell these on, you can buy them at Sumac, or a lot of the luthiers sell them, but I want to say this is a 35-degree angle cut right here. And then I put this out on my table saw. I basically laid it on there, cut a 35-degree angle cut there, and routed this center part out, and then took a file, cut the end off of it, and mounted it in there. So I have a flat side that's a 90-degree angle, and I have a side that's a 35-degree angle. So with that done, what I'm going to start on, I'm going to start with this flat side right here. What I'll do is I'll take this guy I'll set it on here, and I'm going to run it back and forth until I get all of these frets flush with this side. And you can kind of hear once they get to the wood, they'll quit hearing that grinding sound. It'll be more smooth of a sound. Hear that sound there? Not really grinding anymore, but you hear it up here, it still is. This is a lot easier to do in your lap, but I wanted you to be able to see this. Normally this is how I do it. I usually take it, hold it kind of in my lap, and then just take this guy. Like I said, you can kind of hear once it gets to the point where you're kind of into wood and not into the fret anymore. So now that I've got that done, now what I'll do is I'll take the 35-degree side here and I'll start running it. And what that's doing is it's angling the sides of these frets into the wood. And this is the one thing you probably really want to pay attention to, is because once you start going to this, you'll start cutting this edge, and you want a little bit of a cut in it, but you don't want to you want to stay even with this whole thing, because if you do too much in one spot, you'll get a wavy board, I guess I should say. So I'm going to take it, put it on the 35-degree angle side, and just work it back and forth. If it'll show up in the video or not, but you can see the little bit of a bevel on the edge there. And you can also see how the fretboard has a nice fillet on it instead of it just being this square edge right here. So that's what we did by doing that. And then just kind of run your finger on it and see if it's smooth. I might need to hit down here just a little bit more, and then I'll go to the other side. All right, let's flip it over. Looks pretty good. So there we go. There is the sides done. And I will take my other files too. I'll take a fret file and round these off. And all I do on that, it's very minimal, but you just take, I've got this 3-sided file here, and this center part is smooth. And even though it's smooth, it's still easy to mar the fretboard. But if you can think about putting pressure this way instead of down, it helps out a lot. So you can just take it and just kind of, you're putting your pressure more on the fret than you are on the actual wood. And all that's doing is getting rid of that sharp edge, because when we did that, we put a sharp edge right here. And so I'm just taking this file and just knocking that sharp edge down so it's more comfortable. Then you also feel the size, and you can take your file and just kind of spot treat it. And if you don't feel comfortable like that, you can just take a piece of tape and you can back it with that. You know, to help you not to mar up the board. Like that. And it even still kind of can mar it up, you see there. Alright, so I'm just going to take this and go this whole fretboard, both sides. It just takes a lot of time, but I don't think you'll sit here and watch it. For some reason, the camera didn't record a while ago. But anyways, what I did, I went back through here and I hit all these like I showed you a while ago. And you don't take much, it's just get that sharp edge off is all you're doing. I go back with one of these guys. This is a fret crowning file, and I just hit these edges, just kind of lightly, just try to round over that edge a little bit on all of them. And then the last thing I do is I take the small file again and I come through here and I hit these spots individually, because they can still be sharp on this edge. You don't want anything that can catch your hand or anything like that. And if I feel right here, I can feel that some of these are still sticking out. But what you're doing with this guy is you're listening for the difference between it grinding metal and grinding wood. So you can hear that, and then when it gets to wood, it sounds like that. But when it's grinding the frets, you can hear the little bit of a, and see how it kind of goes away? That means you're flat. And now that I did that on all of these, kind of run your hand and just kind of double check everything and make sure that you got that edge off. So now our frets, if you look at them, I'm hoping that the camera will focus on it. If you look at them, you can kind of see that they are kind of crowned all the way around that fret. Hope you can kind of see that how it's crowned. It's kind of like a bevel all the way around that edge, and that just makes it more comfortable. Well, alright guys, that's it for this video. As you can tell, like you saw in the intro, this guitar neck is to this point here, and I'm hoping that you guys learned something in this video. If you have any questions about any of it, just leave them in the comments, and I will definitely try to answer those. Hopefully in the next video, for sure, going to get the neck shaped and get the side inlay dots done, and I'm hoping to get this box here added to the back and maybe get the tuner hose drilled out and maybe start working on getting the nut done and the bridge. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a like. If you liked it, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys.